Good afternoon, and welcome to the Western EIM Governing Body session. Please note that all audio connections are muted at this time. There will be an opportunity to make a comment. We will give you instructions on how to make a comment at that time. As a reminder, this conference is being recorded. With that, I'll turn the conference over to Chair Anita Decker. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So I want to welcome everyone, all our virtual participants this afternoon. We're still working through the COVID protocols, and so there is a lot of minimization of in-person and in FaceTime meetings. So as a heads up to folks, the July 19th and 20th meeting is also going to be a virtual meeting, and that's a joint meeting with the Board of Governors. And I wanted, in case folks missed it, I do want to point folks to the July 2nd press release where the governing body engaged Susan Pope as our governing...
June 2nd.
Did I say July?
Yeah.
June 2nd press release where the governing body has engaged Susan Pope as the governing body market expert. And I want to just highlight a couple things from that press release. So the process of hiring the market expert was developed and overseen and conducted by the governing body. We had several national well-qualified candidates, and we were excited to choose Susan as our market expert. Just to be clear, the market expert's role is to advise the governing body. And so we've been already talking with Susan about how that advice should come to us, and that we will be who determines what her priorities are and what the issues are that we'd like her to work on. She also might flag some things for us. So this will be a really good two-way exchange between the governing body and Susan as the market expert. She specializes in economic and public policy analysis of electric markets. That includes market design, market enhancements, and performance of bid-based electricity spot markets, capacity markets, and ancillary markets. She has significant experience addressing market design issues related to all of the ISOs, RTOs here in the United States. So we are really fortunate that she has that oversight and that experience and that view of what others have done, which I think will really help to inform the governing body. So Susan is with us here today. So we actually got to meet her in person last night, which was a delight for all of us. And we didn't get quite enough time with her today, but I know that our liaison for the market expert is Jennifer Gardner. So member Gardner will be who is the point of contact through the governing body for Susan. And I would turn it over to see if member Gardner has any comments, or if Susan, you would like to make any comments.
You know, I am happy, Anita, with that great introduction. Again, we're all very happy to have Susan on board, and I will yield the floor to Susan to provide us some remarks.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to Chair Decker and to all of the members of the governing body. I'm honored and also challenged by being chosen to work as your independent economic expert. So thank you very much. Facilitating electricity purchases and sales with the EAM has confronted and will need to continue to address the challenge of coordinating transmission scheduling and resource efficiency for all members of the EIM. So I come to this position, to this job, with quite a bit of experience in working through these issues with other regions seeking to coordinate their electricity purchases and sales. And I hope to bring to this job my experience with working through some of what has worked, some of the ideas that have been looked at that haven't worked, why they haven't worked in other regions, and help to flag for the governing body what are potential issues and what are potential ways forward with some of the issues they're confronting. So I also want to say that I completely respect that there are many aspects of the way that the transmission system is operated and the way that the BAs manage their systems in the West that are different than those that I might have seen in other regions. I've had the opportunity to learn about some of those through past work, for example, about Cascade hydro facilities, but I also come with the knowledge that there will be a lot to learn from the governing body members and from the EIM members about what is important in the operation of your system and what are some of the challenges going forward with the initiatives of the governing body.
Thank you, and welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be working with you. Thank you.
So I do want to acknowledge, so we've already heard from some stakeholders ideas of things that they would like the market expert to take a look at. And I just want to be clear that the market expert really, based on the recommendations of the prior GRC, that the market expert really is there to help advise the governing body. And that's really why we're excited to have that independent view. So all due respect to stakeholders, the governing body will be working closely with Susan on the things that we really need some more guidance on.
Thank you.
Again, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have several things on the agenda today, and not the least of which is to honor Member Val Fong for her service to the Western.
Chair Decker, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Let me, for the record, get in a roll call. And while I can see you are all there, but we'll have that officially for our record that we have our quorum. So if I may do that, and then I will turn it back to you.
Roger, thank you. I was going to get to that.
No, so let's just go ahead and do that. And Chair Decker?
Here.
Vice Chair Konzioka?
Present.
Member Fong?
Here.
Member Gardner?
Here.
And Member Prescott?
Here.
And so we do have a full attendance and a quorum, which we did have prior, but now it's officially on the record. And back to you, Chair Decker. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. So we're going to be honoring Member Fong for her service to the Western Energy Imbalance Market as one of the original Western Energy Imbalance Market board members. We also have our officer elections during this meeting, and we will be voting on the recommendations from the nominations committee for a new member. So I want to go back to Member Fong, and that this is her last meeting. We want to recognize her leadership and significant contributions to the Western Energy Imbalance Market. So in that vein, I believe in Hawaii, aloha means hello and goodbye. Is that right? Okay. So in the interest of that,
Oh my goodness.
we have a little goodbye gift. And I would like to read a resolution in service to Member Fong's value that you've contributed to the Western Energy Imbalance Market. So the resolution of appreciation for Valerie Fong, dated July 29th, 2022. Whereas Valerie Fong was appointed to the inaugural Western Energy Imbalance Market governing body in July 2016. Can you believe that, 16? And whereas Ms. Fong served faithfully and enthusiastically during her tenure, including holding the leadership positions of vice chair and chair. Whereas Ms. Fong used her unique experience and expansive industry knowledge to help facilitate the remarkable growth and effectiveness of the Western Energy Imbalance Market. Whereas Ms. Fong made an extra effort to conduct outreach to the EIM participants, stakeholders throughout the Western region, and to understand their unique perspective. And where Ms. Fong, her ability to walk her beloved dog, Rosie, while conducting important virtual conversations, demonstrated her ability to multitask to the success of the Western Energy Imbalance Market. And whereas Ms. Fong generously provided tasty fruit from her famous lemon tree and freely shared her gardening knowledge and handcrafted pandemic masks. So our first masks were all made by Val.
Well, I didn't give everybody.
Oh, okay. And be it resolved that the Western Energy Imbalance Market governing body members hereby express their utmost appreciation and sincerest gratitude to Valerie Fong for her outstanding service and dedication to the Western Energy Imbalance market and its many participants and stakeholders with their varied interests, as well as the Cal ISO staff and management, and it is signed by each member of the governing body.
Thank you very much.
I need a vote to adopt this resolution.
So moved.
I second.
So it's been moved and seconded to adopt this resolution. Roger, would you like to take a roll call, please?
I will absolutely be honored to. Chair Decker, your vote.
Aye.
Vice Chair Konzioka.
Yes.
Member Gardner.
Aye.
And Member Prescott.
Aye.
Member Fong, you do not get to vote on this one.
And I would like to take a moment, if there are any public comments, I would love to hear, just open it for a minute to see if there's any public comment.
Once again, if you would like to make a comment, please click on the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen. And we do have comments.
Oh, that's making me nervous.
Go ahead, please.
So our first one. Okay, caller, go ahead.
Hi, this is Tony Braun. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can hear you, Tony.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity here. I feel like this is a pretty monumental moment. Of course, Val and I go back way before EIM, but obviously in her role here and in the critical role she played through the sort of growth years of the EIM and the ability of a Californian to outreach to the rest of the West, and then her service on the GRC. It really is going to be some hard transition, I think, to sort of move away from the way we've used to doing business and all the constructive things that have been accomplished through Val's leadership. So I know personally I'm going to really miss her being here, and I think we all will. And hopefully we can find a role for Val if she's willing to play it in any future endeavors we're working on.
Thank you, Tony.
All right, moving on to our next caller in queue. And caller, if you can please state your name and affiliation and make your comment.
Yes, hi, this is Scott Miller from Western Power Trading Forum. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Val, I just wanted to say on behalf of myself, but also WPTF, I didn't know you before I took over from Gary in 2018, but I was immediately impressed by your ability and desire to engage on behalf of the EIM and for a larger vision for Western market. Even when I was sometimes skeptical about some of the things in the EIM, you were always positive and willing to engage, and especially when you're taking on a role in the leadership of a new organization. That's a great quality, and I think you've established a great residue of goodwill that I know that Anita and John and everyone else will continue on, but no small part was because of how you began this whole process. So thanks a lot.
At this time, we do not have any more callers in queue.
And Member Fong, is there any comments you'd like to make?
Yes, thank you, Chair Decker. It's always a hard decision when you're doing something that you really enjoy doing. So I just want everybody to know that it's truly been the honor of my life to serve on the governing body. I thank our stakeholders and the market participants, many of whom I've gotten to know over the past 6 years. Thank you to the ISO team who supported us and patiently answered my many inane questions and helped me to understand proposals being submitted for our consideration. And it goes almost without saying, but it must be said, I have thoroughly enjoyed working with my governing body colleagues, and I commend the nominating committee for its thoughtful recommendations in seating members on the governing body who come from different walks of life, don't necessarily share the same opinions, but are able to work together constructively. One thing I've observed about all of my governing body colleagues from the very beginning is that they are all excellent listeners, and they do that with very open minds. I've learned a lot. I've enjoyed the challenges we faced. I've found the growth of the EIM to be very encouraging, and I'll absolutely treasure the friendships I've made. And it's not the first time nor the last time I'm going to say this, but my memories of the past years will stay with me as wonderful memories. I wish my colleagues, the ISO, and all of our stakeholders great success as you continue to advance market initiatives and goals. Thank you very much for this honor.
Thank you. Aloha. Okay, with that, moving on, that was just a great start to the meeting. We need to approve our meeting minutes from May 10th. And Roger, can I turn it back to you?
Absolutely. We do actually have a previous agenda item, which is if there's any public comment for items not on the agenda. And I don't know if you want to do that first or I can do the minutes.
We can do that first. I love it. I love it that someone keeps me on track. Okay, so are there any public comments?
What they pay me for.
Are there any public comments not associated with items on the agenda? So operators would give us a minute there.
If you would like to make a comment, please click on the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen. At this time, I see no callers in queue.
Thank you. And I'll let you guys know, I actually have a script. I just don't follow it. So, Roger, can we have a, would you help us approve the minutes, please?
Mahalo. So, yes, I need a motion for the for the May 10th, 2022 WEIM General Session minutes. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. This is Jennifer.
Second, this is Val.
Thank you. Val, thank you. That's second. And Chair Decker, your vote, please.
Aye.
Vice Chair Kanzioka.
Aye.
Member Fong.
Aye.
Member Gardner.
Aye.
And Member Prescott.
Aye.
Thank you, governing body. The motion has approved.
Thank you, Roger. So next on our agenda is the CEO report. I'm going to turn it over to Elliot, please.
Thank you, Chair Decker. I guess in the spirit of the moment, I'd also like to start out with a warm aloha to Governor Fong. Val, you've just been as I think you've heard, many big fans count ourselves right at the top of the list. We've really appreciated working with you. Just that unique touch, wonderful, just incredible expertise, a great sense of the issues, and I think most importantly, just have done such a nice job building bridges. I think between California and the broader West, it's been just a big part of the success of the EIM and helping us as we move forward. So congratulations, and really have appreciated your service. Also, just of course, today is really about transitions to a certain degree. Also, just wanted to thank Chair Decker for your service last year as the chair of the board of the governing body. We've really appreciated your time as well. Tremendous focus, stewardship through some really important transitional moments as well. So thank you for your role here in the last year. We have now officially, of course, entered summer. Always a time of tremendous focus here at the California ISO, and I think we're just a few days past our first kind of a heating event across the West. Of course, not super hot everywhere, but it was great to sort of test out all of our systems and communication protocols on Monday going into a relatively hot day. I would say if we feel very good about the nature of preparedness in terms of infrastructure readiness, communication protocols, both inside the state and with adjacent balancing authorities. And of course, as we saw last year, We know that the energy imbalance market and the additional visibility and coordination that it provides will continue to be a key piece of the reliability toolbox this summer as well. So far so good, and we'll be keeping everybody, of course, up to date as we work through the summer. We're also continuing to be very actively engaged in the resource adequacy conversation here within California. An additional period of dynamism with updates to the rules here and a lot of work at the California Public Utilities Commission. We will continue to provide analysis and support and policy inputs as appropriate on that issue, and making sure that our tariff elements are harmonized, and also, of course, continuing to track resource adequacy developments, policy issues across the broader West so we can maintain interoperability across that broader footprint. We're all still feeling, I think, very positive about the EIM implementations back in May with Bonneville and Tucson. It just was tremendous to see the level of preparedness of both of those entities. And of course, we're now well into ensuring that our EIM entities for 2023 are progressing. And I would say the onboarding of those entities is moving well. Is moving along very well. I did want to note, just in the last 24 hours, just in the spirit of continued transparency, we have experienced a little bit of a bumpy transition of our outage management system migration, which was designed to facilitate the end of our Internet Explorer support. There have been a few transitional issues that have materialized. They're being prioritized and addressed as soon as possible. There's been some associated issues associated with higher loss penalty factors and some higher marginal loss costs. And so we're reviewing these things, and we'll continue to communicate actively with the EIM community and get these issues resolved as expeditiously as possible. Shifting to EDAM, just briefly, the team is now working hard to process and read through and synthesize the over 400 pages of comments that we received last week on the extended day-ahead market. Just a tremendously valuable input from stakeholders across the Western United States. Really appreciate that. We're looking forward to a series of both in-person and virtual meetings across the course of July as we continue to work through the issues, and now adding really moving to that next phase of the detailed design and working through some of the most challenging issues. This is the time where we're really rolling up our sleeves, and again, the participation of all of our partners across the West has just been so constructive and so helpful to guide our thinking process. So that's working really well. Of course, our expectation now is to get a next draft of the proposal out the week of August 11th. So that's coming together. We are also, of course, continuing to make progress on the wheel-through issue. That topic is been the source of tremendous amount of dialogue internally here in the last couple of weeks. We've been doing outreach to transmission providers, market operators across the country. We're working with stakeholders and getting ready for a straw proposal on the wheel-through long-term solution in the middle of July. And RSC, the Resource Efficiency Evaluation Phase 2, is also proceeding well as we work through the consequences of the failure of the RSC test and some other enhancements targeted for the summer of 2023. There will be additional proposal work on the street here in the next week or so on that topic. Just the last thing I wanted to mention is, it's nice to see all of our governing body members assembled together, and of course we're in the process of working through our transition plan in the post-pandemic world. We will be here towards the end of this month, have a good handle on how our workforce remote work how it will shake out. We've given our employees significant choice, certainly for those, of course, that don't work day to day in our control center, about their choices around remote work or hybrid. So we'll be processing all that information and thinking through what the next big chapter looks like here as a more distributed organization. But we're going to continue to look forward to hosting events and stakeholder meetings and trainings and other activities here at our Folsom and our facility in Folsom, and hopefully seeing more and more of our employees and our partners in face as hopefully the pandemic continues to settle down. So that's my update for today. And again, congratulations to the transitions. And we're looking forward to the remainder of the meeting to see who's stepping into these roles going forward. So thanks again, and everybody stay safe. Cheers.
All right. Thank you, Elliot. So next on our agenda, we have the Chair of the Utah Public Service Commission and Chair of the Body of State Regulators, Commissioner Thad LeVar to provide a report on the body of state regulators. So, Commissioner?
Thank you, and good afternoon, Chair Decker, Vice Chair Konziolka, and members of the Western Energy Imbalance Market Governing Body. I appreciate the chance to present this report from the body of state regulators. I join others who have expressed their appreciation to Valerie Fong for her 6 years of service to the WEIM governing body. Those years have been impactful to every aspect of the market, from the growth of the footprint to the evolution of operations and governance. Your leadership and commitment have benefited not just the WEIM, but stakeholders and electricity customers across the Western United States. Thank you for all you've done to make these efforts successful and beneficial. Like many WEIM stakeholders, members of the BOSTR are interested in the developments toward a potential day-ahead market structure and operation. After multiple meetings and discussions, last week the BOSTR submitted consensus comments on the extended day-ahead market straw proposal. BOSTR members have diverse viewpoints about some details involved in the day-ahead market, but also share an optimism about potential benefits. That optimism helped us identify the issues on which we were able to provide consensus comments. The BOSTR comments expressed support for the proposed voluntary entry and exit framework for the California ISO's guiding principles for establishing fees. We asserted the view that market transfers should generally have equal priority to load under emergency conditions, and that resource sufficiency evaluation failures should have some bearing on transfer priority in those conditions. Those failures also should have a penalty price that incentivizes sufficient long-term procurement. The BOSTR generally supports the proposed transmission bucket framework while recognizing that issues remain to be developed to ensure the maximum availability of transmission in the market without devaluing any transmission customers' open access transmission tariff rights. The BOSTR did not make specific recommendations on some issues, including those related to greenhouse gas accounting, an issue with a significant diversity of viewpoints among BOSTR members. But our comments express hopefulness that future technical workshops can continue to explore methods for addressing this important issue and others that can meet the need of the WEIM's diverse membership and stakeholders. Overall, the BOSTR applauds the efforts of all the participants in this EDAM initiative. The straw proposal represents tremendous progress, and we look forward to continuing program development toward a durable and successful day-ahead market. Moving on from the EDAM, the BOSTR continues to engage in the work of the Governance Review Committee. Our engagement with that committee continues to be led by Oregon Commissioner Letha Tawney, and we look forward to the opportunity to provide formal comments on that work in August. Governance review is one of the most important functions of the BOSTR. WEIM governance has been successful and has provided significant benefits. Continuing that forward progress is crucial to the kind of Western market coordination many stakeholders envision for the future. I also want to thank Nevada Commissioner Haley Williamson for continuing to represent the BOSTR on the nominating committee, and to congratulate both reappointed and newly appointed members of the governing body. Those of you who serve on the governing body and those who express a willingness to do so are evidence of the commitment to the success of the WEIM that exists across a broad spectrum of stakeholders with diverse interests. Our next BOSTR update meeting is Friday, July 8th. It will be an open meeting and the materials will be posted to the BOSTR website. At this point, I anticipate our agenda will include a discussion of the schedule for continued EDAM development, updates on the Governance Review Committee, and the Phase 1B analysis for the resource sufficiency evaluation, and continued discussion of issues related to greenhouse gas accounting. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
So, do any of the governing body members have questions for Commissioner? So, Commissioner, that was an excellent report. You really covered a lot of landscape there, and I really appreciate the positive comments and the way that the BOSTR has kind of really leaned into these issues. So, thank you guys so much. Please convey that to the other members of the BOSTR.
I will do that. Thank you.
So, next on the agenda, we have Vijay Satov from the Western Resources Advocate. He is currently the chair of the Regional Issues Forum. They've been meeting and looking at what the priorities are for the Regional Issues Forum, as they have been kind of reconstituted as a result of the last GRC update. So, Vijay?
Yes, thank you. Can you guys hear me, please?
You're a little bit garbled.
Okay. I'm sorry, Chair Decker. Can you hear me still, or?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So, first of all, I apologize for my hoarse voice, but I was in a pretty intense set of conversations and meetings with allergy attacks yesterday, so I'll do my best. But thanks to CalISO staff, Holly Taylor, we put the slides together this morning that can convey some of the messages I want to give. But first of all, on behalf of all the Regional Issues Forum liaisons of all the sectors, we want to congratulate and thank Member Fong, Valerie Fong. You've demonstrated a clear commitment for the last 6 years on the EIM governing body with your recognition and understanding of the changes to the EIM as it grew, and also the recognition of the great regionalization that's happening. So thank you for all of that. I also want to recognize, as Elliot Mainzer recognized, the work of Chair Decker. You've been a valuable supporter of the RIF and the liaison sectoral representation, so we appreciate that effort as well. I wanted to put in the chat box a message that I had created as a script to offset my speaking, but I didn't see the feature. So I'm just going to go into the next slide, if that's okay, please. Thank you. I think everybody knows on this slide, so I don't want to repeat everything, but the Regional Issues Forum is a framework, I like to call a framework from what I have come to learn in the last 2.5 years, to deliberate and address stakeholder issues related to the Western EIM. The main key message we want to convey is what are the relevant perspectives we can bring to the table from the sectors on different topics, and what are the relevant information we can take back from the Western EIM governing body to the sectors. I present a new sub-bulletin. Bullet number 3 is to consider common majority and minority positions, and I will come back to that in slide number 4. This is something very important that we wish to explore, and we'll bring this back to you all. More importantly, we are also making sure that we do our best to have consensus, since this is a deliberative body that wants to explore ideas and perspective to enhance the growth of the Western EIM and enhancements like the EDAM possibly. Next slide, please. Thank you for whoever's running the slides. I'm not going to go through all of this, but I think representing the EIM GRC, Therese Hampton, and the entire GRC has worked very hard last year, and the prior GRC members who are on the EIM governing body now work to expand the scope of the Regional Issues Forum to get engaged in active stakeholder engagement, not just the existing stakeholder proceedings, which did not have any active authority of decision making or approval. So we appreciate the challenge you've given the RIF. All the sector liaisons were very supportive of it. I see at least 4 or 6 of them are on this call today, so I'm glad they're there to cover my back or come back and give me grief later. More importantly, the Regional Issues Forum strives to and wants to maintain its independence, and that was a clear message I got as the chair this year. And the last item we are very appreciative of is a standing agenda item for future governing body meeting updates. Next slide, please. So what are we working on? We're working in 2022 on a couple of areas. First of all, we have welcomed the challenge and the offer from the GRC to deliberate the possibilities for how we will engage with the expanded scope. There was no debate in our liaison coordination calls. There is perspectives from different sectors on the where and the how, and we have identified some pathways for engagement. We have presented them as pathways to the CalISO staff for, I'd like to call my words only, this is Vijay's words only, a legal approval, making sure that what would be the appropriate ways to give feedback that can enhance and improve the decision-making portfolio rather than influence and bias the final decision-making. More importantly, we also appreciate the RIF participation to be more proactive and not just respond to active stakeholder conversations, but soon to be initiated proposals, which a couple of the sectors were very explicit on, and I recognize that, and I want to make sure this is on the record. We have also identified 5 work priority areas. I can assure you of one thing, they're all within the EIM scope. They vary from transmission contractual arrangements and moving to a locational marginal pricing pathway model, to understanding SEAMS issues in the EIM, to responses to some of the emergency response measures of the EIM entities as they are participants, and also to overall understanding of the structure in which the EIM will grow. I'm not putting those specific work priorities out yet, but you will see them in future in the RIF meetings under deliberation. There is a minor area of clarification to be undertaken with CalISO legal staff to be sure they fit within the purview of the EIM governing body and not going beyond the scope of the EIM. I have some good news to offer on behalf of the RIF. The liaisons have been very engaged and interested in clarifying these pathways with the perspective of implementing the existing operational guidelines, to be very blunt and frank, number 3 to number 8, especially number 5, 6, 7, where we would leverage deep dives, bring panel presentations, or invite guest speakers from other organized markets that are relevant in context or CalISO stuff. So these are some avenues we're exploring once we take care of bullets number 3 and forward, which is the work priorities we want to lock down and implement some subtopics, and making sure the CalISO legal staff gives us the okay on our scope with the expanded authority you've given us through the GRC proposal. So I think next slide, please. Thank you. I think I really want to stop here by saying that the Regional Issues Forum is very committed in being a participant in the dialogue of future grid, I like to call grid regionalization expansion. We want to ensure the EIM enhancements are stable, predictable, and easy to appreciate, so all market participants and the sector liaisons I represent feel they have a voice at the table, but also not feeling rushed to respond in the expanded scope. We do, however, recognize and completely will welcome every opportunity in every RIF meeting by the GRC Chair, Therese Hampton, on behalf of the GRC, to propose any new updates or review the new governance proposal that will come out and appropriately give feedback. That is not going to be ignored given the 5 priorities that we've identified. So I think that's my update, and I welcome any questions or concerns or comments, please.
Thank you, Vijay. Are any questions from any of the governing body members? Rob?
Thank you. Vijay, good afternoon, and glad you were able to join us today.
Yes.
And not a question, but more of a comment. You know, the GRC thought it was important to provide the RIF with additional scope opportunities. And I really appreciate that you and Vice Chair Walter and all of the liaison sectors, or the sector liaisons, have taken a look at this opportunity and have moved this forward, and will continue to expand what the RIF does. And I think importantly, interacting with the governing body, and ultimately being able to have more input on decision making, and educating us, and being able to describe the challenges that the RIF members see. I think overall that will help us be much more effective in what we do. And so with that, I just want to say thank you.
I missed myself, my bad. But Rob, first of all, thank you for your comments and your feedback, and appreciate the work you'll be taking on in your new role. And of course, with Chair Decker, that you both have worked together a lot. Yes, we are very interested in making sure we can deliver, but we want to deliver in a deliberative fashion. And absolutely, one idea that I think I responded earlier to you in an informal way when we were caught up in a casual conversation at the RIF meeting, in the public meeting, is one of the open ideas by the liaisons is the idea of even if we don't have consensus, if we have consensus from a majority versus a minority opinion, we provide that perspective. And I think that would still help you all in your decision making. So thank you for that. And we welcome any feedback and ideas to respond and step up.
Okay. Vijay, that was a great report. It's really good to see. And I appreciated that you had a couple of slides. So it really kind of helps underscore where you're at. And that, of course, becomes part of our meeting minutes. So thank you you very much for that. If no other questions from the governing body, we will move to the next update, which is from Therese Hampton for the Governance Review Committee. Therese?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. Before I start with my update, though, I would like to offer sincere thanks and gratitude to Member Fong for her commitment and dedication, not only as an EIM governing body member, but as a Governance Review Committee member for 3 years. We had the pleasure of working with Val during the development and recommended governance changes for the EIM. It was during COVID. It was during tough times, and the great thing is that Val always kept things fun and light. She was always prepared, always engaged, and most importantly, was a steady voice for ensuring we understood and considered all the stakeholder perspectives. So we appreciate both her dedication to it, the stakeholder engagement and representation, her great sense of humor. Thank you, Val, for your service, not only to the governing body, but to the GRC. And personally, I feel very fortunate to have been able to work alongside you in that process. So thank you. Also, I would like to, sorry, if you were not to interrupt. I would also like to say I'm super encouraged by the hiring and the participation of Susan Pope, your independent advisor, in this meeting today. Her hiring and involvement with you today is a terrific example of how governance has responded to stakeholder input. As Anita mentioned, the independent advisor was a stakeholder suggestion that was deliberated on by the GRC, which is a stakeholder body, and we advanced it to you and the ISO Board of Governors for your consideration, and I just want to thank you for adopting and acting on that recommendation.
Thank you.
So to our update, the committee is currently in the process of developing a draft straw proposal for governance changes for EDAM. We're scheduled to release the straw proposal on July 15th, and we'll have about a month comment period. And we the process for developing that straw proposal, we held a public meeting on April 29th that outlined the key areas of focus for the straw proposal, and we identified key questions for stakeholders. And since that time, GRC members have been engaging with stakeholders throughout the month of May into early June to gather perspectives on the issues that we had identified. So both the GRC's previous work, a lot of the issues we looked at over the previous 2 years. So we're using our previous work, we're using written comments that we received during our scoping process, public comments at our public meetings, and then our outreach. They're all being used to inform this draft straw proposal. And we have also built out a work plan that has us looking at a revised straw proposal this fall, and then being prepared for a final proposal that aligns with the final EDAM market design. And that concludes my update. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions or comments from the members? No. And if folks don't realize, so John Prescott is our liaison to the Governing Review Committee, or the Governance Review Committee, I can't speak. So John, any comments you'd like to add?
No, we've discussed some of those issues at our governing body executive session, so we've been doing a lot of work, and I really appreciate the leadership of Therese Hampton on this. Yeah. She's been outstanding, so thank you, Therese.
Thank you, Therese. Okay, the last meeting we had a very short update from how the implementation went for both Bonneville and Tucson, and it was like they've been in the EIM for like, I think, 10 days. So we've asked them to come back to this meeting and kind of let us know, it's been a month now, how are things going? So I believe that we have both Mark Simons and I'm looking for the other.
Blake Pedersen.
Thanks.
Pedersen.
Blake Pedersen on the phone. So if you could raise your hand so we can hear you.
Blake and Mark, both lines are unmuted.
So Mark, do you want to go first?
Sure. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, I'll start by going off script in the same way that everyone else has. I can't say it in as many good words as everyone else already has, but I do want to extend Bonneville's appreciation to Member Fong for your leadership on the EIM governing body and on the Governance Review Committee. I know there are many of us who have worked directly with you. So again, thank you, and really enjoyed the 5 years that you've provided as a member of the EIM governing body. So thank you. And then moving along to our regularly scheduled programming. You know, in terms of update on EIM, I think Chair Decker, you hit it exactly. We were able to provide a very brief update before. This one will still be a bit brief on my part because of scheduling constraints here, but I think everyone recognizes that Bonneville went live on May 3rd. We had a very smooth launch by many accounts. That is really a testament to the countless hours put in by BPA staff and our partners, which include folks at the ISO and those other entities that have helped us to deliver the required grid modernization projects that we had to enable our EIM participation. At the same time, one of the things that we still emphasize is that we recognize that we haven't met all of our customers' expectations prior to go live, and we'll be continuing to work to ensure that we improve upon those commitments. But in terms of what we are doing, we are continuing to learn from our participation in EIM. Really appreciate the engagement with the CAISO on the daily market quality calls and the resolutions to some of the issues and concerns that have been raised, as well as the opportunities that we've had a chance to experience in EIM. And we've really bridged our transition from implementation to market operations at this point in time. We're regularly reviewing our EIM market performance, looking at numerous cross-organization issues, and sharing and communicating some of those lessons learned with the ISO. We've been very happy to see the level of transmission donations in Bonneville by our transmission customers. Really appreciate seeing that level of participation, not just by BPA, but by our peer EIM entities and transmission customers. And it's really been a good participation for us thus far. So appreciate the opportunity to share some of what we've been seeing so far. Any questions?
Questions by the governing body members? Hey, Rob?
Blake, this is Rob Conjo. I have just one question. When you mentioned that you've not met all customer I'm sorry, Mark. My apologies. Just one question on your remark that you've not met all customer expectations so far. Is that, would you clarify that? I mean, quantify that as a relatively smaller issue, or is that at this point a more significant issue?
Yeah, what we are trying to finish working through is the final implementation of our EIM settlement software, which ultimately will enable us to do two pretty key things from our customers' perspective. One of those is to be able to issue what we are calling a detailed data file to our customers approximately 2 weeks after the trade date, which really provides a level of visibility so that they can see and tailor their interfaces with the EIM, which will, I think we believe, and our customers believe, will make all of us more successful, more efficient, and more effective in the EIM. So that's one thing that it will do. And the other thing it will do is allow us to actually issue our EIM services bills to our customers, and we expect to do that by mid-July.
Mark, thank you very much for that clarification. I appreciate that.
You bet.
If there are no other questions for Mark, Mark, I was hoping you were going to tell us that you guys were getting $1 gazillion. But anyway, we can turn it over to Blake.
Thank you, Chair Decker. Everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you again, Chair Decker and governing board members. Absolutely would want to add to the appreciation for Member Fong. I'll keep it short and simple, but thank you for your years of service. I do appreciate it. As far as our EIM update for TP, we're on the brink of closing out our second month in EIM, as you well know. Overall status of TP's participation is positive, strong to say. Obviously making some adjustments as we go along, and I assume that will be in perpetuity. I want to highlight a couple of the successes, challenges, and some recognitions for CAISO as well. Some of our successes that we've had, and truly almost to the surprise of ourselves, we've had a very high success rate of our passing our sufficiency tests. Balancing, obviously, one of them. Flex was definitely a success that we did not see coming, concerning all the advice and concerns that we had from other prior EIM entities. As Mark alluded to, we are gaining more intimate understanding of the market and learning as we go. Obviously, the drinking from the fire hose has slowed down a little bit, and we're starting to grasp, everything that affects us. We're definitely experiencing some enhanced improvement and improvements for our coordination with our company stakeholders, specifically communication that we hadn't had before. So that's great to see. Settlement process is going fairly well. We have some moderate to minimum disputes. We're ahead of schedule on our sub-allocation invoices to our other customers, our wholesale customers. So we are excited about that. We're also currently calculating and analyzing our market benefits. Without giving a specific number, we are definitely positive, extremely satisfied, very positive with our current estimates. Some of the recognitions I wanted to give to CAISO through the process. The CAISO market quality team is really helping us through the process, helping identifying our issues. A specific shout out to our meeting runner is Jenny. She's done a great job trying to help us track down the issues that we've had, working through the problems, communications, telemetry, and stuff like that. The RTMO has been a tremendous partner as well, working with our operators on the other side to address real-time issues. So it's good to see. Challenges for us, we're definitely just dialing in our GRDT, our unit parameters. That's kind of been a little bit of an issue here and there. Once the rubber hits the road and we start seeing the performances from the DOTs, has been something we've been adjusting for. And we're in our first, quarter, we're going to be retiring a plant and also bringing on a new resource. So that would be a new experience for us. And heard the new resource can be somewhat problematic sometimes. As Mark said, post-market analytics has been a challenge to make sure we're taking in all the data, understanding what we need to, adjusting our bid strategies, things like that. And then, of course, gas management has been a little bit of a challenge, but seeing improvements in there. Other than that, we've been very successful in our operations and what we wanted to do, so couldn't be happier. We do appreciate all the support from CAISO and our fellow EIM entities, and willing and ready to offer the same for the new entrants next year. That's all I have. Is there any questions from me?
Questions from the governing body. That was a great report out. Thank you very much. And I think all of us will be looking forward to the next quarterly report of benefits. So we will see where Bonneville is, we'll see where TPU is, and it's really great to hear a month out that things are still really going well. So thank you very much for making yourselves available today.
My pleasure.
So I think that the next item, I believe Stacy Crowley. I believe Stacy is going to introduce this item for us. So Stacy.
Thank you, Chair Decker, and good afternoon, governing body members. Just a quick comment on Val Fong's engagement in the governing body. Just can't thank her enough. So many nice words were said, and I agree with them all. She just brought a warm heart to all of this and great expertise and engagement. So thank you to Valerie for all of her work on the GRC. So I quickly want to introduce Nicole Hughes. She's with Renewable Northwest, and she's the chair of the WEIM governing body nominating committee. And she and her colleagues have been doing a lot of good work over the past many months to determine and seek out potential candidates to fill Val Fong's seat. And Nicole will go through a brief presentation, but I just want to thank her and her colleagues for the hard work, as well as the search firm, in providing such great candidates and good discussion on them. It's a lot of time that we ask of these folks, and so we really do appreciate that. And with that, I will turn it over to Nicole.
Thank you, Stacy. I'll just do a quick sound check.
Yep, can hear you.
Okay,
Yep.
Great. Thank you. Greetings, Chair Decker, Vice Chair Kanzioka, and governing body members. I'm going to walk through our process today to come to a recommendation for reappointments and new appointments to the governing body. But first, I also want to thank Member Fong for her service and dedication to the EIM. I had the pleasure of overseeing an interview with Member Fong along with the nominating committee, and it was clear to me that she was truly dedicated to the success and continues to be success of the organization, and just brought so much value to the table. And also very, very thankful for the support she gave the nominating committee in helping us to find her replacement, which is probably not an easy thing for someone that has been working this long at the organization has. So thank you, Chair Fong, and appreciate your support. So I'm going to walk through a slideshow that talks about our process, and then we will end with some recommendations to the governing body. Next slide, please. So the WEIM governing body members are selected through a process that includes a sector-based nominating committee, which works together to make a recommendation of candidates to the governing body. The nominating committee convened this year in March to consider term expirations for two members, Valerie Fong, who elected not to seek reappointment, and member John Prescott, who did wish to seek reappointment. So today I'll present the results of our recent process and provide some background and context for our work. Next slide, please. The nominating committee is made up of 6 voting sector representatives and 2 non-voting positions, which include a member of the CAISO Board of Governors, which is Severin Bornstein. Thank you to Severin if you're on this call. And the EIM governing body, which is Vice Chair Kanzioka. And thank you, Rob, for your participation in this process. I'm not going to go through all the names here, but as you can see, it's a very diverse group, and everyone, thanks to everyone on the nominating committee, if you're also on this call, for your dedication to this process. Next slide, please. So, oh, I think we might need to go to the next slide, or something's missing here. Oh, here we go. So, so this is sort of a flow chart of how the process works to elect a new member. So I won't go through this piece by piece, but I'll just kind of talk through the process. So our first task was to interview outgoing member Fong and learn about the governing body from her perspective and what we should be considering in our efforts to identify candidates. We also interviewed member Prescott to evaluate his candidacy for another term. And I want to thank member Prescott for his dedication and the time he spent with the nominating committee. After nominating committee deliberations, the committee did reach consensus to recommend a renomination of member Prescott, which I will revisit again here at the end of this presentation. So the process for electing a new governing body member starts with working with the executive committee, or executive search firm, sorry, in this case Korn Ferry, to identify several candidates for consideration, and the sectors each bring their own recommendation of candidates to the process as well. CAISO staff helped conduct conflict of interest screenings and manage our meeting process. A special thanks to Holly Taylor, Emily Hughes, and Greg Fisher for their support in the process. I will say this time around the process was more difficult, mostly because we had a significant number of very highly qualified candidates to interview and to consider. I think it was a very impressive slate of candidates, and I think this really speaks to the increased importance of the WEIM and the value that the governing body brings to the entire region. Not sure if I need to, okay, I'll keep going on this slide right now. So we conducted several interviews and we reached back out to our respective sectors and deliberated as a committee. And we agreed upon a nominee to replace Member Fong through a majority vote of the committee. The nominating committee at this time recommends Andrew Campbell as the governing to the governing body to fill the vacant seat left by Val Fong. I'm confident that Andrew will complement the existing governing body members, and while there is no replacement for Val, he will bring important skills and experience to the table, and we're excited to have him involved. Next slide, please. Oh, I guess I should have used this one earlier. Go on to the next slide. So to recap, again, the recommendation that the nominating committee is making to the governing body today, the nominating committee recommends that the Western EIM governing body reappoint John Prescott and appoint Andrew Campbell to serve on the Western Energy Imbalance Market governing body for a term beginning July 1st, 2022 and ending July 30th, 2025. I will stop there to see if there are any questions.
Any questions by the governing body members? I'm going to open it up to any public comment. Any public comment on the nominating committee report?
Please press the raise hand icon if you would like to make a comment.
Okay. If there is no public comment, I'd like to take a moment and again ask if there's any comments. And I'm going to take that in the vote for John. He doesn't get to vote for himself. So I want to turn it over to Roger.
Thank you, Chair Decker. And we do have the motion here. Move that the Western Energy Imbalance Market governing body reappoints John Prescott and appoints Andrew Campbell as members of the Western Energy Imbalance Market governing body, each for 3-year terms beginning July 1, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2025. So if I can have a motion, please.
So moved. This is Val.
And I'll second.
And Member Fong has just corrected me that John does get to vote, so sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. Chair Decker, your vote, please.
Aye.
Member Fong? Aye. I was hoping I could also make a comment, a quick comment. And so, Andy, I don't know if you're listening, but if you are, I just wanted to let you know that, first off, I'll just say thank you to all of the highly qualified candidates who are interested in the appointment. You all were willing to throw your hats into what I'll call the proverbial ring. The nominating committee was faced with a tough decision, and they recommended you, Andy, to be our incoming governing body member to replace me. I've gotten to know you through our governance review committee efforts, and I could say without reservation that you will be a terrific addition to the governing body. And so I am proud to approve the recommendation of the nominating committee.
Thank you, Member Fong, for that excellent vote. Vice Chair Kanzioka.
I too would like to make a couple comments here, and Val beat me to the punch. It was almost like she has my script. Chair Nicole Hughes did a great job of the process. Now, all the governing body members have been on the nominating committee before, some more than once, and they know the process well. And I think it speaks volumes that we're getting very well qualified people to be willing to be considered and to go through that process, because it's not a fun process. And, I want to say thank you to John for his service to date. and for willing to continue that service. With Val, not willing to serve another term, John provides us that institutional knowledge and a lot of background information and really provides, at least speaking on behalf of myself, great guidance, just as Val has done with me. And she has done that in a way that is not very visible, but very appreciated. And so I too thank Val for all that she's done and all that she has contributed to this governing body. And I would also, like Val, like to extend a welcome to Andy Campbell for willing to be considered and to join this governing body. I too think that the nominating committee really worked very hard in doing a tremendous job of vetting. And it's a very important part of that process and making certain that, as was stated earlier, that we get good diversity on this governing body. And so we have, not a lot of necessarily like-mindedness, but different perspectives to challenge each of the members. So with that, I heartily endorse the reappointment and the selection of Andy Campbell.
Thank you, Member Konzioka. Member Gardner, your vote, please.
Yeah, my vote is aye as well, Roger, and I'm just going to have a very brief addition to what Val and Rob have already stated. I think I just want to kind of back up and just acknowledge the time and the commitment that's required of the nominating committee itself. I have served on the nominating committee in the past. It's such an incredibly important part of our stakeholder process. So I just want to offer my thanks and appreciation to all of the members of the nominating committee for coming to the conclusion that they did today. And I want to provide a special thanks to Nicole for chairing that effort. I know how difficult that can be as well. So Nicole, thanks for all of your hard work and shepherding this group to reach the decision that you did today. And again, I want to also have a chance to thank Val for her leadership, and we're obviously going to miss you, but really looking forward to welcoming Andy on board. So thank you so much, Roger.
Thank you, Member Gardner and Member Prescott.
Well, since I am allowed to vote, I am going to abstain.
You can't vote no.
Okay, I'm going to abstain on the slate, but I did want to say that I wholeheartedly support Andy Campbell in this position. We'll miss Val Fong certainly, but I'm excited to work with Andy, and also to thank the nominating committee for their support of me in my reselection.
Thank you, Member Prescott, and thank you, governing body. The motion on the slate does pass. And welcome to Andy Campbell.
Thank you, Roger. So Nicole, I do want to say on behalf of the governing body, you heard it from individuals as well, we really appreciate the amount of time and the amount of effort and the amount of coordination and the amount of collaboration and the headaches that getting through the nomination process can take. So you guys started in January, here we are in June, and there are so many things that happen that people don't get to see. So thank you to you for your leadership in this nominating committee. Please thank on our behalf the entire committee as you maybe report back to them. It really is a yeoman's work. You did have amazing candidates, and I think we're in a really good place to go forward with some really tough issues in these next 3 years. So thank you guys for all of your work on that direction.
And thank you, Chair Decker. And I just want to echo something I heard Therese Hampton say earlier about seeing the governance work in action. And I really feel strongly that we, as a committee, came together and made some really effective decisions and that will benefit the EIM. But I've seen that in all the other committees. And so I really do believe strongly in the governance structure of this market and think it's an excellent example to be setting.
Thank you. Okay, so the next item on our agenda, and it has been the practice of the Western Energy Imbalance Market to rotate its officers, and that usually happens in June. So here we are in June, and it was one of the reasons that we needed to have a June meeting was to look at our officer nominations and go through that rotation. So I would entertain a motion for a vice chair and chair.
I'd like to move. Oh, John, did you want to
you are a member.
I know. You're going to, okay, anyway. So I'd like to move that Rob Kanzioka be our next chair and that Jennifer Gardner be our next vice chair beginning July 1. But before any of that, I think it is really timely to acknowledge everything that Anita has done over the past year. It's not been easy. We have been, COVIDed. So we haven't gotten to meet in person very much, but she managed us extremely well. She listened to the governing body. She listened to stakeholders. She listened to the ISO. And I think she ran good meetings that ended on time. And I thank her very much because I know she put a lot of effort and time into being the chair for this governing body. But while we're doing that, I should also thank Rob Kanzioka, who's vice chair, who spent a fair amount of time as well, because he had extra committee duties, including the nominating committee and the DMM oversight committee. So thank you very much. And we reward you by making you the chair.
And still.
I would second that motion.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that Rob Kanzioka become chair.
Okay.
Roger?
Yeah, so what I have is a motion where I will fill in the blanks, and we'll go through that motion, and we'll get a first and second on the motion as a whole. I move that the WEIM governing body elects Rob Kanzioka to serve as chair of the WEIM governing body pursuant to section 3.3 of the charter for the Western Energy Imbalance Market Governance, effective July 1, 2022 to June 30th, 2023, or until such time thereafter as a successor is elected. Move that the WEIM governing body elects Jennifer Gardner to serve as vice chair of the WEIM governing body, effective July 1, 2022 to June 30th, 2023, or until such time thereafter as a successor is elected, whose role will include substituting for the chair when the chair is unable to fulfill his duties due to conflicts, absence, or unforeseen reasons, and who will be designated as the WEIM governing body representative to the nominating committee. May I have a motion, please?
So moved. Val.
And second, this is John.
Thank you, Val and John.
Roger, is there any public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. We jumped ahead, and I apologize for that. I didn't keep us on track that time. Why don't I pause? Why don't I pause there, and then we'll just go back to the vote. I won't reread the motion. So why don't we, operator, if you can open this up for public comment and let us know if there's any callers that would like to comment.
If you would like to make a comment, please click on the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen. And at this time, there are no callers in queue.
Thank you, operator, and thank you, Chair Decker, again for that reminder. So why don't I continue with the vote? We have the first from Val Fong and the second from Member Prescott, and I will go ahead and take the vote. Chair Decker, your vote, please.
Aye.
Member Fong, for your last vote as a member of the governing body. I'm sorry, your vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
One more time.
Yeah, I didn't hear it. Vice Chair Kanzioka?
Aye.
Member Gardner?
Aye.
And Member Prescott?
Aye.
Thank you, governing body, and congratulations to new incoming Chair Kanzioka and incoming Vice Chair Gardner. We appreciate your service. You add so much to the governing body. Val, you have as well, and it saddens me to not be able to call your name again after today, but I really appreciate working with all of you, almost on a daily basis sometimes. It's really gratifying. So I just wanted to throw that in there while I have the floor.
Rob.
Yeah, thank you, Anita. I'd like to make one comment, and Val has once again gotten me ahead of me and beaten me to the punch in thanking Anita Decker for the wonderful job she's done this past year. And everyone knows who chairs these various committees how difficult things can be, and what we've seen is a really uptick in the activity level and the dynamics that are occurring. And just as a quick reminder that during this past year, amongst the many things that happened, the governing body approved, along with the Board of Governors, the joint authority model. And Anita has spent time this last year working with the governing body to implement that joint authority and make that successful. And we've seen a significant expansion of EIM and the benefit that it brings to all of the participants and across the West, and also in looking at how this EDAM has now been initiated and is moving forward. And so with that, amongst all the other things, Anita, thank you very much, and we appreciate your leadership. And most importantly, I am hoping that in the next day and few hours that the remaining open issues will all be resolved, so that I get to start with a clean slate.
Really, I was looking at handing them off.
That's very, very optimistic.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Thank you for the comment. And I also want to ask, and I think I missed a beat here when we were bringing Andy onto the board. I believe he's on the phone, and I should have asked if Andy had any comments as the incoming Board of Governors. So, Andy, if you're out there, can you raise your hand?
Andy, your line is unmuted.
Andy, I apologize for that oversight. Thank you.
Hello. Yes. First, I want to say thank you so much to the nominating committee for the kind of thorough review of candidates, for really bringing in a lot of interest in this opportunity, and thanks to the governing body for approving my appointment. And especially want to thank Member Fong for all your work on the governing body. I felt very privileged to work with you for the past 2 years on the governance review committee. That was certainly part of what helped me kind of visualize this opportunity and pursue it. And you're an excellent model that I look forward to following your path. Thank you.
Andy, thank you for those comments. Let's see. So we aren't going to get to meet with you in person until what could be, like,
it won't be July.
October? No, September. So we'll look forward to that, but we definitely will see you on camera between now and then.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
Okay, so next item on the agenda is some of the updates on the policy initiative, and I believe Anna, is not here today, but I believe Mark Rossleader is going to be doing some updates for us on the EDAM, the resource sufficiency, and wheel through. So is Mark out there?
Actually, thank you, Chair Decker, but I'm going to pass this off to Greg Cook, who will be providing the briefing on both the extended day-ahead market, resource efficiency, and wheel-through topic.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. Yeah, so this is Greg Cook. Good afternoon, governing body members. I will take this opportunity, too, to say aloha to Member Fong. I think I can say for the entire policy team, it's been great working with you. I guess it's over the past, 6 years. Wow. Man, how time flies. But yeah, so on to the report. I'll be, as Mark said, I'll be providing you an update on really 3 important and continuing stakeholder policy initiatives we have going on right now. First, I'll share with you where we are on our efforts to enhance the accuracy of the Western EIM resource sufficiency evaluation. I'll also provide you an update on our current efforts to develop a more permanent solution for providing priority scheduling rights for wheel-through transactions through the ISO grid. And finally, I'll provide an update on the EDAM efforts. So over the past several months, we have been working with stakeholders to consider enhancements to the Western EIM resource sufficiency evaluation. And I think, as you know, there's a collection of tests that determine whether balancing authority areas that participate in the EIM have sufficient capacity and flexibility to meet the forecast demand, and the Western EIM base schedules are both feasible and balanced. So, but before I get to where we are on our current initiative to enhance the resource efficiency evaluation, I want to provide you an update on the improvements to the accuracy of the resource efficiency evaluation that you approved earlier this year. And I'm happy to report that since your last update, those changes were accepted and approved by FERC, and we successfully implemented all of those enhancements on June 17th. And then turning to our current initiative to further enhance the resource efficiency evaluation, as was reported at the last meeting, an important part of this initiative is the extensive analysis we conducted on how operator actions affect the ISO's ability to pass the tests, the ISO exports, and how both intertie and net load uncertainty impact the resource efficiency evaluation. And we've completed the analysis and discussed the results with stakeholders, and we posted comprehensive reports on the analysis and our findings on June 21st. And then we held a call to discuss those results yesterday, June 28th. And stakeholders requested this analysis to inform the next set of possible enhancements. And based on that analysis, as well as extensive stakeholder engagement, we're getting ready to post a straw proposal, which we're planning to post in the next week or so, that will cover things such as whether load conformance should be considered in the resource sufficiency evaluation, consideration of both the load and intertie uncertainty in the resource evaluation tests, consideration of low priority block hourly exports that are enabled by Western EIM transfers. And finally, as we also reported last month, we've been carefully considering changes to the consequences of failing the test, and we're working on a proposal that facilitates the curing of over and under supply conditions. And this is in direct response to significant interest expressed by stakeholders to move away from our current failure consequences that essentially limit transfers to and from failing entities. And so instead, we're looking to allow for an opportunity to cure those failures from the market if transfers are available. So we're on track for completing this stakeholder process by the end of this year, and we'll be ready to file early next year any changes that we will be looking to implement by June 1st of next year. And I think, as noted in the last update, although we don't normally consider implementing new system enhancements immediately prior to summer, we are expediting this process in response to stakeholder feedback to have these enhancements in place prior to next summer. And then, we're really looking that if by August of this year we can have the basic framework of the enhancements largely fleshed out, then we believe we can feel confident that we can implement those changes by next summer without affecting other initiatives. So next, let me turn to our, what we like to call the wheel through it. Yeah, sorry.
Let me just do a pause there in case someone has questions about the information that you just gave us on the RSE. So any questions by the governing body? Okay. Roger? Okay. Okay, Greg, proceed. Thank you.
All right. So I'll now turn to what we like to call the wheel through initiative, but we've been making steady progress on developing a proposal for what we're calling the Transmission Service and Market Scheduling Priorities Stakeholder Initiative. And I think, as you recall, earlier this year, FERC approved our proposal to extend the same interim proposal that we implemented last year to address concern with scheduling priorities for wheel-through transactions relative to the imports to serve CAISO load at the interties. And then late last year and early this year, we held several stakeholder working groups through which we were able to obtain significant input on how others manage these issues and what stakeholders are looking for with this new construct. So we've been leveraging that input as well as meeting with other ISOs and RTOs on how they manage these issues, as well as looking into comparable procedures from our neighboring balancing authority areas. And we've also enlisted the help of OATI to develop a straw proposal for a procedure that would allow external parties to the ISO balancing authority area to request and procure higher scheduling priorities for wheel-through transactions under prescribed conditions. And we were initially working towards publishing a straw proposal the week of May 30th, but we delayed this in order to provide us an opportunity to further understand and consider the other ISO and RTO and utility practices. So we are aiming to post the straw proposal on this issue by mid-July. Again, that will focus on putting forward a durable framework for subscribing to scheduling priority for wheel-through transactions on a forward basis across the CAISO system, while also balancing the need to ensure that native load needs can be adequately served, consistent with industry practices and other vertically integrated utilities, as well as other ISO RTO operating environments. So we do anticipate several iterations of our proposal with stakeholders, but we're working towards completing the proposal later this year so that we can file it with FERC early next year, and so that it can be implemented in time for the new procedure to be in effect for the calendar year 2024. And so I'll pause there and see if there's any questions on the wheeling initiative before I turn to EDAM.
Any questions? I would point out for our stakeholders that if you missed the posting, there's a quarterly report that the ISO had provided to FERC, and that was posted on June 15th. So if you missed that, it's a good update, and it's something to look forward to quarterly. So just I just want to point that out. And Greg, if you want to make any comments about that, that's great. And otherwise, we can go ahead and go on to EDAM.
No, thank you for that, Chair Decker. I think that's a great resource, and I appreciate you pointing that out. Okay, and then turning to EDAM, so last but not least, I'm happy to report that our Stakeholder Initiative to extend the day-ahead market to other balancing authority areas is moving along. So on May 25th and 26th, we held the EDAM in-person stakeholder meetings where we had extensive participation and I'd say a robust dialogue on almost every aspect of the overall EDAM design. And then on June 16th, we received stakeholder written comments on the EDAM straw proposal, and we actually received quite a few comments. We received 47 different sets of stakeholder comments, and a number of them represented multiple entities. And then I believe the comments, I think Elliot said 400 pages. I think we counted close to 500. So anyway, it's somewhere in there, but we had very voluminous amount of comments. And, I think we really appreciate the sizable stakeholder response and engagement, which is a strong indication of the wide stakeholder interest and the desire to understand as well as meaningfully explore the further regional collaboration opportunities building upon the success of the Western EIM. So overall, I would say, after carefully reviewing the comments, I'm happy to report we don't believe that there are any showstopper issues that came out of that. And we're very much engaged in working through the different items informed by these comments to provide further details and as we work through the policy design. And we announced a series of EDAM workshops to go into depth on some of these issues. It'll be occurring between July 11th and July 27th. And we're continuing to target publication then following that of a revised straw proposal on August 11th. And then finally, before I conclude, I also wanted to touch on a couple of related and parallel stakeholder initiatives that are targeted at enhancing our market platform and market efficiency. First, we're continuing to work towards enhancing the day-ahead market to allow us to better manage uncertainty between the day-ahead and real-time market, and it also will help us optimize diversity across the broader regional footprint. We've been working on a number of critical issues and are engaging with stakeholders to complete this effort, hopefully by the end of the year. And then second, I wanted to note that we also have launched our price formation enhancements initiative, and which among other things will consider fast start pricing, scarcity pricing, and an enhanced methodology for balancing area market power mitigation in EDAM as well as the Western EIM. So, we recognize many of these issues can be quite polarizing, and we're working to engage with stakeholders to consider enhancements that'll ensure that, our market prices are fair, rational, transparent, and based on sound economic principles. So we'll be carefully considering the pricing elements of other ISO RTO markets, and we'll be looking to tailor our market rules to reflect the nature of the greater footprint's fleet of resources. So with that concludes my update, and I'd be happy to answer any final questions.
Okay, so I want to ask if there's any public comment.
If you would like to make a comment, please click on the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen. There are no comments at this time.
And I would like to ask my colleagues, are there any comments or questions from the governing body?
I needed just one. And Greg, this is Rob. Just thank you for this update. I think it's very helpful and informative to us and to those who are listening in to get a understanding, a better feel for where some of these initiatives are headed. It's always, easier to see where it's been on the website. The website doesn't always tell us how things are developing. And you've touched on 4 really terrific, important items to most of the participants and stakeholders, and it's been helpful to hear this, and I look forward to hearing more about these as they go on, because they are really hard to take in individual or in bites. I mean, at least as a starting point, it's the fire hose. And I think the more often we can hear this and hear the individual pieces come together, it's easier to see where we're going and where we're going to be asked to approve something. So thank you.
And I would make a couple other comments. Please share with the teams that are working on these things. It is really helpful to have these updates and for our stakeholders to recognize that we are being updated along the way. By and large, the governing body members, if they don't take them in detail, they at least read through the comments to get a sense of what is the proponent's of opinion or views on these different issues. And we have followed very closely what's happening with RSE. We've very closely followed, we all just call it the wheel through, because we recognize how important those 2 issues have been. And then you get to EDAM. I have to say, so I got through about 300 pages of the comments on EDAM, and I was very heartened to see support with caveats. There's caveats because there are a lot of implementation details along the way, and there will be. But the bottom line, to see to start out with, we can support, and then here's our concern, just using that word, that there's things that are supported, and supported by and large by most of the commenters. Again, understand there's caveats, and the devil will be in the details. But I think it really goes to the stakeholders having that opportunity to help shape how these things came forward in the early on workshops, getting the draft out, and the continuing ongoing working groups that the ISO has put together. So a lot of kudos to the ISO staff, a lot of kudos to stakeholders who have put their shoulders to the grindstone to try and make this work. And I just really want to say that I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you, Chair Decker. I think we're getting there. There's still a lot of work to do, but we're definitely moving forward.
Absolutely. Okay, the next item, and Greg, are you going to do the calendar then with us?
I could, yeah. Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. So let me do this then. So I'll do a little bit of an interest in time. We've got the calendar. We can see what's coming at us for the next 3 months. We can see that there's some decision issues that are coming in Q4. So I think we're probably okay with not spending some time on that. I want to just lastly, again, say how much appreciation I have for the working committees, for the BOSSR, for the RIF, for the Governance Review Committee, for the Nominations Committee. And, but I have to say, my biggest appreciation today goes to Member Fong. I knew Val before I came on the board. I knew her from just utility to utility. And I have to say, I have been so impressed with the opportunity to work with you and to learn from you, because you have always helped me pause, to be a better listener, and to take a lot of different opinions and views and perspectives into account that I might not have, except for having had you as a role model. So thank you.
Hear, hear.
Okay, with that, if there's any other business by the governing body?
To address item 12 too, agenda item 12, informational reports.
Oh, so you guys have informational reports, yeah. Unless there's something that you want to pull forward, I am going to call this meeting adjourned.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our conference. Thank you for using Event Services. You may now disconnect.